Hi there, I'm Darren McDermott and you're watching Dukascopy TV. Now there are 7.6 million Americans living abroad. Canada is believed to have the largest population with around 1 million. The American Citizens Abroad Global Foundation launched its very first educational symposium in Toronto. I'm joined today by Jackie Bugnion. Welcome today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we have the American Citizens Abroad Inc. and of course the American Citizens Abroad Global Foundation.
Yes.
So one is an advocacy agency and the other is more educational. So can you tell us the differences between the two?
Yes. American Citizens Abroad Inc. is the successor of American Citizens Abroad, which was founded in Switzerland nearly 40 years ago. And last year we transformed it into a U.S. Corporation. It's what is called a 501c4, which is a corporation that allows advocacy. And the reason we did this was doublefold. That we have our executive director now in Washington, D.C., and we felt that this would increase our presence in Washington and our recognition of as a representative of Americans overseas. And when we decided to set up this operation, at the same time, we thought we would set up a separate operation called American Citizens Abroad Global Foundation. And the reason is that this corporation is what is called a charitable organization. It's a 501c3, and the donations to this foundation are tax deductible in the United States, which is not the case for the other one. And we've come to recognize that there is an enormous need for research concerning Americans overseas. In the United States, there is a very, I would say, distorted image of who is overseas, why they're overseas, so that one of the big challenges is to get a good profile of Americans overseas, to understand who they are, what they're doing, to break down the myths that surround this. There's a long history of why there are these myths, but that's the way it is. And we felt that in order to do this, we had to have a special operation to really promote research. And to do research, you need significant financing. So that's why we set up the foundation.
And what was the topic and framework of the symposium that happened in Canada?
The topic of the symposium was the 21st century taxation of Americans abroad, citizenship-based taxation versus residence-based taxation. And what was really exciting about this symposium that was held is that they were able to obtain the two top academics in this area, one defending citizenship-based taxation and the other one proposing residence-based taxation. And each gentleman talked for 45 minutes, and then there was a monitored debate between them, and then an open Q&A with the audience. And the audience immediately had all hands up. Everybody was very engaged. And this is the first time, to my knowledge, that there has ever been a public debate on why Americans are taxed the way they are and what could be an alternative.
So what are the direct benefits of this symposium, of what people learned?
The direct benefits are that again, we're coming into the framework of education. The professor who explained why he's defending citizenship-based taxation was very subtle in his comments. He said, I believe this is the right approach. It's in the history of the United States. I should add that it's the only country in the world that really practices it. But he said it should not be overly burdensome either. And we complemented the morning session between these two professors in the afternoon with a presentation by a tax lawyer, a presentation by investment advisors, and a third one by a representative of the the Canadian American Chamber of Commerce. And this was the reality on the ground. They were really explaining the impact of citizenship-based taxation on Americans overseas. So the contrast between the academic approach in the morning and the realities in the afternoon was very interesting.
And looking at the future of the organization, now what sort of plans does the ACA Global Foundation have?
Well, it's really definitely up to the board of the foundation. I'm not on the board. But I can imagine that they would be precisely looking into doing more studies on more profiles of Americans overseas, the competitive impact or the impact on competitiveness of small and medium-sized corporations who want to work overseas. The tax laws are rather burdensome. And I think they would also like to do research into really what are the revenues that come into the United States from citizenship-based taxation, and what would they be if residence-based taxation were adopted. And these are studies that can be done, should be done perhaps by business schools, by economists, by some think tanks in Washington, D.C. So that's why they set it up.
Jackie, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, that is it for right now, but for more great interviews from the Geneva studio, make sure you stay tuned. Goodbye for now.